And what I'd like to do is either see to completion or have a plan in place and the financing in place to make sure that every sport that we have has a real good chance to compete nationally and in the Big 12. And I'm not going to enumerate what all those are, but there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 things beyond the practice facility that need to be done. And so I don't plan to be here forever, but I would like to see those things come to a reality.
How long would you like to remain as athletic director?
Well, I'm not putting a timetable on it, but until those things are done, or until somebody pulls the plug. Somebody may say, "Hey, you're incompetent. You're getting senile. Here's the door."
So, have a prominent role in selecting a new athletic director?
I don't know that I'll have a particularly prominent role. I imagine that I'll at least be able to offer input. There'll be a lot of people who will be considered that I know well, and I'm sure I can at least give an assessment. But there will be a search committee, and I'm sure the chancellor will be the one who will have the final say. And so my role will be anywhere from somewhat to maybe insignificant in that process. Anything else?
What's it like for you to see Howard Schnellenberger coming back here? Speaking of maybe some downtimes during teaching.
I hope he doesn't show up in a helicopter is the only thing I got to say. No, I've seen Howard off and on for a lot of years, and he's always got a project. He's working it, and you got to admire the guy for starting over as many times as he has. And Howard doesn't lack for confidence, and he's done it a lot of times, and so I'm sure they'll be ready to play. I'm sure of that. And so I'll try to see him at some point, maybe on Friday, and just say hello. And sometimes that doesn't happen just because of logistics, But I'd like to maybe say hello to him. And that was, the game back in 1983-84 Orange Bowl was. At the time, I didn't realize it, and maybe he didn't realize it either. But it has stuck in people's minds for many reasons, and we were fairly heavily favored in the game. But if you look at NFL prospects and all that, they didn't have an empty hand to play. They had good players. They played well, and we just didn't get it done. And so I still feel bad about 82, 83. Those are really great football teams, and we didn't get it done. I feel really bad about 93 because we had a great football team and came close but didn't get it done. But then on the other hand, we got it done some other times. And so you just got to, if you're close enough times, eventually, hopefully it'll happen.
Coach, you grew up in Hastings, kind of a small place. How much of your early life do you attribute your success as the years went on?
Well, whatever's happened, your background's part of it. And I think World War II was kind of significant because my dad was gone. And so I knew what it was like for 4 years to be fatherless. And it was kind of unusual because my dad was old enough that he didn't have to go. He volunteered. And so everybody else my age had their dads. And so I felt somehow inadequate, sort of like a second-class citizen. And so then I ended up coaching a lot of players who didn't have dads. And in their case, it wasn't like their dad was overseas fighting a war. Their dad just left them. And so I had a sense of how that affects you. And probably that's had a lot to do with my interest in mentoring because of that experience. But I think also I grew up in a small town, St. Paul, Nebraska, Hastings, and you can get pretty well grounded in those kinds of communities, in terms of values. You get a chance to do lots of different things, and so I appreciate that background and that environment. I had good parents, and any of us who've had that are very fortunate. And we see today the impact of not having both parents, what the culture has done to so many of our kids, and it really concerns me.